Hello, everyone. So, I was talking with one of my patrons the other day, and we were talking about how to inspire yourself to be less reactive. So, this is a reaction video about how to be less reactive. And I think that if we think about the culture that we're in, it makes a lot of sense of why everyone is rather reactionary. Rather than responding or choosing to disengage. Um, Reactionary responses are normally filled with emotions, right? And emotions and emotional manipulation through media is very powerful and highly underestimated. So, if I ever seem muted in my responses, or if I'm talking rather fast about subjects that are rather emotionally intense, that might be the reason why. Is because I don't think that it is necessary to try and emotionally guilt my audience, especially when we're talking about topics that are very loaded. The topics that I've talked about recently on this channel have been very successful when it comes to the amount of views and stuff. Not as much conversation, but that is okay. It will come in time. I just like that more people are getting exposed to these ideas. If it's not their first time viewing it, they're getting re exposed to concepts and trying to apply them to where they're at in their current stage in life. And that's kind of why I wanted to start this whole series. But when I was talking to one of my Patreon members, I had to be kind of honest about some of the stuff that I've learned throughout my journey in therapy. And one of those things being that I had to learn how to trust myself. And once I learned how to trust myself and my ability to make decisions and feel that there was nothing bad that was going to come of it, feel the ability to support myself and understand who I am a little bit more deeply and intricately work on areas that I did want to improve, and areas that I realized I wasn't at fault for. On Patreon, we've done more work to talk about narratives and the differences between goal setting and structures and systems. And I really appreciate being able to have that space where we work on journaling prompts and things of that nature, because I think it helps deepen a conversation that is kind of hard to have um, on an open platform basis, because the things that I want to try and be able to facilitate for a community are rather raw and intimate. And I know that not everyone feels safe, especially myself included, talking about aspects or experiences that may have affected us on a on a basis of intersectionality, where if somebody didn't see all the moving parts, if they weren't able to critically think about the evidence before them, think about the motives before them, and really be able to analyze everything from a timeline perspective, um, I don't think that a lot of people do possess fully that ability. But when I do see it, and when I see the love and compassion from the communities that I am a part of, when I am able to devote energy to YouTube and I see people actually responding and engaging, it makes me feel like the thing that I used to enjoy doing very, very much just as like a private pastime is now something that is more of a shared communal space. And that was something that took some transitional time for me to understand, because when I had been doing YouTube prior, it It wasn't about being reactionary around that time period. I am slowly getting to the point where I may be able to talk about and show you guys a little bit of at least the audio from my old videos almost 9 years ago now. But I have been out as a gender non-conforming individual for 9 years now. So that's pretty cool. But I had to become comfortable again within my ability to trust my decision making. I had gotten to a point where I kind of let other people make my decisions for me, and I think that that is a toxic trait that some submissives can possess. I saw a video about that recently, and I think it is super good to hold reflective time periods after breakups of any kind, but especially if they're a BDSM one with a power exchange element. Because it took me quite some time to be able to be secure within like who I am as a person, but also like my sense of like what I wanted to do independently. For a while, I wanted to travel. I went from, well, I mean, if you've been here a while, you know, I went from Washington to California to Washington to Georgia to Washington. And right now, I'm still here. And I think that traveling the country was a aging experience for me because when all of the online debacle is as much as I'm going to call it from now on, from this point on, you can refer to my Whom It May Concern playlist if you have any questions about this experience, but I don't want it to take up and consume any more of my life. So I was 21 when I had met someone, and I am now 24. I was in that relationship for about a year, almost 2 years, and it really changed my outlook on a lot of things. Starting to dissociate. I'm trying to ground a little bit more. But I went from constantly being around someone to constantly moving around and trying to find a place where I could remain sober and abstinent at that point in time. And that was really difficult for whatever reason. It's actually harder than you would think to find people that don't at least drink alcohol. And that was one of the primary barriers in why I moved around so much. The other element that was definitely an influencing factor was the fact that I had a large breed dog. I still have Bean. She was in the end of my last video, obviously. She's currently sleeping right now. But as you can tell, the energy level difference, and they're around the same age now as Artemis was, is different because of the breed, but also because I have had Bean since she was around 10 weeks old. So with all that being said, I began to kind of become a person that reacted to the situations around me because I kind of had to be put in an adapting situation, right? So I didn't really have a lot of choice or a lot of say due to the level of access that I had expendable to me. When I had left for California the first time, I had sold all of my belongings, as the internet loves to talk about. And then I had moved down to California for about the span of a week and a half. And then I moved back because my dog was a large breed and that was not going to work where we were staying. And so we decided to move back home, and that was a difficult process. And it was really a matter of seeing how much I was willing to accommodate for each host. Because you have to think about when you're moving into shared space due to income restrictions or ability to work at a consistent rate. These are all different intersections that I happen to fall under. I was also a student, so there was a lot of things that had changed for me, and you can either react to the situations around you or you can adapt and decide to put down boundaries. And each time that I would put down a boundary with someone was around the time period that you all would see me move spontaneously. And most of the time I didn't talk too much about it. Like on my channel level. Like no one really knew how or where I had gotten home to. No one really questioned that until it became public discussion. And I found that to be really interesting because no matter what, even if I don't identify as a woman, I get casted into that scarlet role every time. And people love a good witch hunt. People love feeling like if there is someone bad and we find the bad person and we were able to point it out, but that's not as much of a punitive community measure as any of us would like to hope. And often, when you are not presented with the same level of information as, let's say, a court of law, you won't draw to the same conclusion level, the same stuff. So, the reason that I am personally less reactive when people try and get a rise out of me now or try and manipulate a narrative is because I have spent a lot of time actually doing the work. And when you've actually done the work, and I'm talking a year plus now of therapy every single week, 2 to 3 times a week. So about 3 hours of your week, every week. You begin to be able to trust that you were not the one at fault, and you can't continue ruminating. And ruminations can present themselves in present day form too. So if there's a situation that arises that triggers you and reminds you of another situation, it's important to remember the two are not connected. Because you want to make sure that you're approaching everything with a good lens of reality and understanding who people are as they are in front of you, rather than the narratives that you may have concluded about them in your head. Because odds are you've probably had someone conclude some narratives about you before. Were they accurate? I'm just curious. Because I find it to be interesting when I was watching all of the videos about me. Because I viewed myself as an onlooker just like you. I don't know if you're still here at this point in the video, but if you are, we are wrapping up now. You guys had requested videos around the 10 to 15 minute mark. So we are going to be wrapping it up here. But if you have ever been involved in an online or in person, I've heard about in person cases. It seems more common in cities. I'm not quite sure why. I think it might be the small towns just have like gossip. Or maybe small towns are normal. I don't know. Let me know about your experience in the comments below about reactivity. That response in your gut that makes you want to type really, really fast or makes you want to yell out your car window. Tell me about that response and tell me about how you're changing that response to be something that has more coping mechanisms, more communication skills, and allows for a growth mindset. Have a great rest of your guys' day. Bye.